Have you ever experienced a complete lack of peace where there is literally just so much going on in your mind? Like so many things to check off your to-do list, work pressures, kids stuff, house stuff, holidays to celebrate, school to register for, a point where it feels like your lid is just going to pop off at any moment. I've been there, and most of the time, I can blame it on the fact that I have let myself just get too busy. My family and I have said yes to too many commitments. There's projects that need to be finished, and we need to step back and take some time to straighten ourselves out. Most of the time, this starts with me wiping off our dry erase calendar at home and rewriting it just to contain the absolute must-dos. I will have a conversation with my husband and our friends and our families about our need for some space and some time to reset. Then, most likely, I'll go out to Target and buy a new planner. There really is nothing like a fresh, ink-free, crisp-paged new planner. I kind of get excited about weird things maybe, but there's so many possibilities for exciting events and memories that will be made. But also, the start of a very important process in my busy life: organization. I can definitely tell when my life has gotten a little too busy, and most of the time it's because I've been lazy with my organization. This is literally where the success or failure of my everyday life starts. It's important for me to clearly see the things that I have committed to, the schedules for my children, out of town work for my husband, upcoming birthdays, and days off of school. Without this little piece of clarity in my life, I'd be lost. We've been talking about spring cleaning ideas this week, and yesterday we talked about decluttering. Well, these two principles kind of go hand in hand, don't they? By decluttering, you can more clearly see the things that need to be organized, and you have more space to do it. We've talked about how the spaces we live in impact our well-being and our ability to live life in a joyful, stress-free way. My parents recently moved. They moved from Parker's Prairie to Alec here, and helping them through the process had some challenges. They had lived in this house for 25 plus years, and they were going through a downsize. I remember my sister and I kind of giving my mom grief about how many books she had. And she kept defending herself from our little pokes, saying, "Well, I'm getting rid of 40% of them. I just need time to organize them." You guys, books are heavy and hard to move. So none of us were very happy about the fact that she had waited to organize these books until after we had moved them all into her new home. And I hate to admit it, but it kind of set the tone for the whole day that we were there helping her move. She knew we were upset about her lack of organization, and you could tell it was one of those situations where she sincerely had intended to get to it, but just never quite found the time. That day, those books affected our relationship. And it speaks exactly to our topic today. Organization is a never-ending process. Because we live in our spaces, things are going to get messy. And it takes work and intentionality to reorganize them in a way that brings us peace and happiness. I want to use an analogy that my good friend Dave made on Instagram. If you don't follow him, you should. His handle is @Aussie Dave. He says this: have you ever felt weighted down by stress, anxiety, and fear? Do you ever feel like you're trapped under so much pressure that you can't breathe? I've always loved being in the wide open spaces of a beach. It's a place I can catch my breath and feel free from the pressures of life. He goes on to say that the Bible describes in several passages how God leads his people to a spacious place, using the Hebrew word ravak, which means wide or spacious. But this word also means to breathe or to be refreshed. A verse from Psalm 31 says this: "You have set my feet in a spacious place." Now we recognize that being or living in a crammed, unorganized space leaves little room for breath, and little room for much of anything else, really, besides worrying, stress, or anxiety. And Jesus doesn't want us to live our lives in places like that. He wants us to live our lives in places where we can breathe and be free. Organization is an important part of this. Now, my friends, if you are worried or stressed out or feel like you're wandering around with your head cut off, I encourage you to take some time today to organize your spaces. Go buy a new planner or, if worse comes to worse, book a beach vacation. Happy Wednesday, friends. I'll see you tomorrow.